One size fits all. It's basically impossible. Someone's going to be left out. The one size fits all approach doesn't work for pants, and it definitely doesn't work for students. Fair is not always equal.
But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take a step back. My name is Jennifer, and at this moment in time, April 2016, I'm a graduate student at Queens College, studying early childhood education.
When I think about my future classroom, especially in New York City, one thing's for sure. It's going to be diverse. This diversity will also include students with disabilities.
I'm studying to be a general education teacher. And you know what I find? Most gen ed teachers think they won't have any students with disabilities in their classrooms. That's just not the case. Educational placement for students with disabilities depends on how their needs can best be met. For 80% of students with disabilities, that means spending 40% or more of their day in a general education classroom, in a process known as inclusion. My goal, and the goal of all good educators, is to make sure that all students succeed.
So how do we reach this goal? How do we best support students with disabilities in inclusion classrooms? And how do we do this in early childhood settings? That's the focus of this video. Think back to the elephant and the snake shopping at the one-size-fits-all store. Remember how I said that fair isn't always equal? Well, the key to making sure students with disabilities succeed in the classroom is really the same as the key to making sure all students succeed in the classroom. That key is being fair, by providing students with the specific supports they need to do their best through a process called differentiation. Differentiation is based on the understanding that any two students sitting next to each other aren't the same. They have different background knowledge, learning styles, and interest levels. According to Carol Ann Tomlinson and Susan Demirsky-Allen, differentiation is a teacher reacting responsively to a learner's needs. In order to differentiate effectively, you've got to know your students. This doesn't come from just testing them. It also comes from watching them and talking with them. It comes from considering their interests, skills, and learning styles.
But what are some ways you can differentiate? Well, in order to observe some differentiation strategies, I spent some time in an inclusion pre-K classroom at a community center in Queens, New York. Here's what I saw.
Classroom arrangement into centers. Centers provide a visual and concrete cue for students who benefit from a structured learning environment. Centers also provide built-in differentiation because students can choose which center they want to go to and what material they want to interact with. Different centers appeal to different learning styles. Auditory learners can visit the listening center, and kinesthetic learners can visit dramatic play to explore the same topic. Individualized and scaffolded learning tasks. When students are in centers, the teacher observes what a child is interested in and then asks questions or presents problems to help further student thinking. The teacher provides individualized scaffolding or support to help students accomplish tasks. Differentiating products. It isn't just learning tasks that are differentiated in this class, but also products. Students can show what they know in a variety of ways. If the goal of a lesson is retelling a story, for example, they can act out the story with props. They can also use a felt board or draw and dictate. I also saw that more advanced students were provided paper with lines so that they could write out their retelling. Flexible grouping. The teacher in this classroom groups students in a number of ways, based on ability, interest, or preference. In mixed ability groups, for example, lower level students can learn from higher level students, and higher level students can practice what they know. In addition to instructional supports, students also need behavioral supports in order to succeed. Let's look at some of those. Visual and concrete support systems. One student in the class with an IEP has trouble with transitions, so the teacher supports him by giving him his own copy of the class schedule and letting him plan which centers he'll visit.
Additionally, she helps students transition smoothly by alerting them through song when center time is almost over. When there's 5 minutes left of center time, she shuts off the lights and students know to sing. I looked at the clock and what did it say? 5 more minutes to play today. When the 5 minutes are up, she shuts off the lights again and students sing. I looked at the clock and what did it say? Time to put the toys away. The student I've been talking about also gets an iPad with a visual timer to help him anticipate cleanup.
Establishing a token economy. Although the teacher I observed doesn't do this, some teachers manage behavior by giving students tokens for good behavior. When a student gets a certain number of tokens, they get a reward. Sometimes the whole class works together for something like a pizza party. Yum!
Those are just a few strategies for helping all students, including those with disabilities, succeed in an inclusion classroom. When you really commit to getting to know your students and providing the differentiated instruction and behavioral supports they need, the possibilities for student success are endless. Giving students the supports they need is part of respecting them as individuals and capable learners. So, when it comes to teaching, one size definitely doesn't fit all.